All right, welcome to the explainer. So, when you think about the race to build the perfect electric car, you're probably picturing some flashy tech giant, right? Well, it turns out the surprising winner in Europe is a brand known for one thing, just good old common sense. This is the story of how a super practical EV completely upended the tech war. And trust me, what it means for the future of every car on the road is huge. Okay, so let's dive right in. You've got this super crowded, super competitive European EV market, right? And suddenly, a shockwave just rips through the industry because the best-selling electric car, it wasn't some luxury status symbol, and it wasn't a tech disruptor from Silicon Valley. Nope, it was a Skoda. Yeah, a Skoda. And that, of course, leads us to the big question we're tackling today. How on earth did a brand that's famous for being, a good value, no frills, practical choice, suddenly beat all the high-tech darlings at their own game? The answer, and this is what's so interesting, tells us something really profound about what car buyers are actually looking for these days. And look, this wasn't just a one-off thing or some media hype. The numbers, well, they speak for themselves. If you look at the sales charts for July 2025, Skoda didn't just show up to compete. They absolutely dominated. They locked down both the number one and the number two spots with their Elroq and Enyaq models. I mean, that is a massive statement to make in this market. Right. So success like that doesn't just happen by accident. It was all part of a very deliberate strategy that perfectly timed this huge shift in what customers want. See, Skoda didn't try to build a spaceship on wheels. They just focused on building a better car that happened to be electric. So let's break down that winning formula piece by piece. Okay, so the Elroq's success really boils down to 5 key things. And honestly, each one is like a masterclass in understanding what regular, mainstream buyers actually want and need. When you put them all together, you get a package so compelling that, frankly, other brands are now scrambling to play catch-up. First up, and this is probably the most important one, the price. At around 34,500 euros, Skoda just shattered that idea that an EV has to be some kind of luxury purchase. This wasn't just an affordable electric car. It was an affordable family SUV that just happened to be electric. And that, right there, suddenly made it a real head-to-head competitor with traditional gas and diesel cars. Next, they did something that sounds simple, but is actually kind of brave these days. They resisted the urge to turn the entire dashboard into a giant iPad. Seriously, while their competitors were burying everything, climate control, volume, in confusing touchscreens, Skoda kept physical buttons for the stuff you actually use all the time. It's all part of their whole simply clever philosophy. Like that famous umbrella hidden in the door. It's not flashy, but man, it just works. And drivers really, really appreciate that. And a whole focus on real-world use, it totally extends to the space inside the car. So even though it's a compact SUV on the outside, the way they designed it just maximizes the interior room. We're talking best-in-class trunk space and tons of legroom in the back, which is a huge pain point in a lot of other EVs. It really turns out that for a lot of families, practicality, well, that's the new premium. This smart thinking even extends to the battery, which, as you know, is the single most expensive part of any electric car. Instead of this one-size-fits-all approach, Skoda gave people choices. You could pick a smaller, cheaper battery if you're just driving around the city, or you could get a bigger one for those long-distance road trips. It's so simple, but it let customers pay only for the range they actually needed. Genius, right? And finally, let's talk about the design. The Elroq was the first car to show off Skoda's new, modern, solid look. And it works because it's confident, it's mature, it appeals to people who want their electric car to look like a serious, capable vehicle, not like some prop from a sci-fi movie. Okay, so you've got this winning formula, but what was the actual impact? Well, it did way more than just sell a bunch of cars. It basically triggered a seismic shift in the entire market and sent a really powerful message to every other automaker out there. Now, to really get the scale of this, you gotta look at the bigger picture. By this point, electric vehicles were already a pretty big chunk of new car sales in Europe. We're talking nearly 1 in every 5 cars sold. So the demand was definitely there. The big question was, who could build the EV that the majority of those people actually wanted to buy? And bam, here's your answer. You see Skoda locking down those top 2 spots, which is amazing. But the real jaw-dropper is a little further down the list. Just look at the former champion, the Tesla Model Y. Its sales absolutely plummeted by over 40%, dropping it all the way down to 9th place. This wasn't just a new leader taking the crown. This was a complete changing of the guard. It's a huge signal that what car buyers value is fundamentally shifting. What we're seeing here is a classic case of what economists call market maturation. Think about it. The first wave of people who bought EVs were the tech enthusiasts, the early adopters. But now, the market is moving on to the mainstream majority. And this new wave of buyers, they have a totally different set of priorities. They care about value, practicality, and just having a car that makes their daily life easier. And hey, this isn't just some analyst in an office saying this. The public reaction was just overwhelmingly positive. You saw people everywhere praising Skoda for finally delivering an EV for, the rest of us. A car that focuses on solving real-world problems instead of just packing in tech gimmicks. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Why does the success of this one car matter so much? Because the Skoda Elroq isn't just a car. It's a massive signpost pointing to where the entire auto industry is headed next. When you boil it all down, the lesson is actually pretty simple. As electric cars become mainstream, the winners aren't going to be the companies that build the coolest gadgets that just happen to be cars. No, the winners are going to be the ones that build the best cars that just happen to be electric. The novelty of the tech is starting to fade. What matters now is making something that's practical, reliable, and just plain user-friendly. And that leaves us with one final, kind of provocative question to chew on. For the last decade, we've all been told the electric future is going to look like a spaceship, right? But what if the market is finally telling us it's tired of all the complexity, tired of the gimmicks? What if the real future of the electric car isn't about being a spaceship at all, but about just being simply clever?